Nobody makes me bleed my own blood. Nobody!
Hi everyone, welcome to Priority Holder, and today we're playing Strip Scam in the Timeless format. So the idea here is that we've jammed a Strip Mine lock into an existing scam deck. So Icetill Explorer can loop strip mines and like obliterate the long game. So we're trying to marry that with like the really short, explosive game plan of a scam deck. So we can scam a grief into play or get an early huge Nethergoyf or shred them with Thoughtseize. And if the game goes long, we can eventually figure out a way to get an Icetill Explorer into play and like grind them out with strip mine lock. So another thing we can do is we can incidentally mill it with like Overlord and then cheat it into play with like a Reanimate. So that's the idea. Let's jump into some games. Alright, so at first I was going to keep this hand, but then I'm like, wait a second, what am I going to even Dark Ritual into? Like, can't really profit off that. So this hand is somewhat similar. Decided to keep it off the strength of Dark Ritual into Thoughtseize Bowmasters. So the question is what we put back. So we are on the draw here, and so like if the opponent griefs us, for example, we have to take that into account with which card we put back here. So decided to put back a Dark Ritual since we can't really like profit super well off all of them. And if the opponent Thoughtseizes away one, we could still just play our spells, So let's see what the opponent leads with. They're going to crack their fetch, shock and breeding pool, and play a Deathrite Shaman. Okay, so don't mind that, though our bow, it does line up very well against Bowmasters. We can't kill it yet, so going to just shock, Dark Ritual, Thoughtseize for starters. See what we're dealing with. Okay, so Brainstorm, Double Uro, and Witherbloom command. So gonna snap off the Witherbloom command because that's an answer for Bowmasters. And the remaining cards are all vulnerable to Bowmasters. They all draw cards and cause it to go off. So feeling pretty good about that. So the opponent does have a strip mine, so they're gonna be able to like mess with this and make it so this Icetill Explorer in our hand is like miles away. So if you really wanted to go all in on like reanimating Icetills, you could add some more discard outlets like extra Liliana on the Veil. You can also like Thoughtseize yourself to like set up a reanimate Icetill. Just gonna play a tap land and pass. The opponent is just in a tough spot. Like they can like try and brute force draw their way out of it, but then Bowmasters goes off. So the opponent's just holding off now. Alright, now that we drew Disciple, I'm gonna play that because that gets us one step closer to Icetill in the future. And we definitely want to get Overlord on the battlefield. So gonna impend it. Hope it doesn't get mana drained here. See what the opponent. Alright, they don't have anything for it. So we're going to see if we can find some action, and we could already see a Bowmasters dumped into the graveyard. We can already see it's amazing, this matchup, because they have a ton of raw card draw. So a second Bowmasters is really awesome. Even if they find a Fatal Push, they're going to still be in like massive trouble. Not to mention the clock's ticking on Overlord the Balemurk. So I just love that card. It is so awesome. Just an amazing design. Just really enjoy playing it. Jammed it in all my scam decks pretty much. Alright, so they found another Deathrite Shaman, and they went ahead and took some damage because I think they're going to try and prey on our low life total or our painful mana base by like using Deathrite Shaman's ability. So we could like attack in and try and like ambush the bow. Anyway, decide just to hold on. Anyway, we'll have to see what the opponent does. Like, they can always brainstorm a response, but we already have an active Bowmaster, so like they're probably not going to try and do that. So they go ahead and ding us for 2 damage. Overlord ticks down, and the Bowmasters is such a punishing card. Like, we basically just have them like trapped right here, and so they can brainstorm response, but then we're gonna kill a Deathrite Shaman, and like it's just gonna go very poorly for them. And now our Orc army is big enough to attack into a Deathrite Shaman, so that also helps. We're going to lock up the next green source right here and get a Surveil for good measure, which means Icetill might be happening soon. So Strip Mine. So there is an option to dump it in the graveyard, bolt in the Boggart Trawler, and then play it out of the graveyard with Icetill. However, they do have double Deathrite Shaman, so they could just eat the Strip Mine right away. So I guess the way priority works, we'd get at least one free strip mine. Anyway, I decided just to play it. And the thing is, I'm a little worried about our life total, given that the Deathrite Shamans are going to keep like dinging us. So I'm gonna crash in with the Orc army and slam an Icetill. And we can play some lands from the graveyard. Now I was wondering if they're gonna eat up our lands in response, but they seem like like really dedicated to like the direct damage plan right now. So trying to figure out, you know, how many fetchable targets we even have left in this deck. That is like one vulnerability of this deck. So typically with Icetill Explorer decks or Renin 6 decks, you want a ton of fetchable targets because you want to be able to loop the fetches and keep getting value. But scam decks, there's like a little bit of tension because you tend to want fewer actual lands because you want stuff like Boggart Trawler to like pitch cast into Grief or to tuck under a Chrome Mox, you know? So we don't have a ton of fetchable targets in here for Icetill is what I'm trying to say. We just drew a swamp right there. So opponent found one use for the arrows, but they're just not, they're in big trouble right here. Like they can't fire off any card draw under double Bowmasters. I'm gonna pop their black source to like stop the assault on our life total. Alright, so opponent's gonna get us one more time. And now's, you know, we're gonna get the triple strip mine them this turn because we had one in play. And so the opponent can stop this with Deathrite, but then they open up themselves to a big attack, you know, so they're just in a really tough spot. So I'm just trying to just diminish their options as much as possible. Now if they were to try and like Deathrite us, they're gonna have to use Deathrite to create the black mana for the other one, you know. And then we're gonna strip mine them yet again. And this is you know the grinding power of Icetill Explorer. You know, scam deck can come out to a fast start. Yeah, the opponent's seen enough at that point. So into the next game. So if only we had a Dark Ritual, because then we can like Dark Ritual Thoughtseize ourselves, dump Icetill. You know, we don't. I guess we don't have a strip mine, so it's not like super nice. We're gonna just lead a Thoughtseize and see where that goes. But you know, I have to remember the options. So it's one of those like show and tell decks. So this is like a different version. This is like the I forget the land. Anyway, that version. So I grab Malevolent Rumble because I'm like, oh, that grabs the Shifting Woodland, you know. But what I should have done is just snagged the Null Drifter, because that would have set us up for a turn 2 Reanimate Null Drifter. We wouldn't have gotten the cards from it, but we have an Annihilator flying creature out, which would be really bad news for them. I remedy that mistake now. I'm like, okay, if I had an untapped land, I could have done it anyway. So Dark Ritual seems exceptionally strong because that allows us to like impend Overlord before we reanimate and then see if there's a better target. But it's hard to think that we'd find something better than a Null Drifter, especially when their hand is like ultra clunky right now. They weren't able to set up because we took the what's it called, I'm forgetting all the card names. Anyway, I'm gonna impend the Overlord to start off with, just to see what we end up with in our graveyard. And we just get a Boggart Trawler, which I end up just grabbing as like a land drop. And so when you play Overlord of the Balemurk, you want to make sure you have creature MDFCs. So like Boggart Trawler is usually like a going, but if you're dipping in other colors, you want those as well, because that way it can essentially pull lands from your graveyard. I spent some time thinking about this because we do have like a... Anyway, I don't know why it took me so long. It's best just to reanimate Null Drifter. And this is going to take a big chunk of our life total, but it's going to, you know, put them in big trouble. Yeah, the opponent sees the writing on the wall with that Annihilator 1. So on to the next game. A reasonable hand, but just it seemed super slow. This seems better. We're going to just get rid of the green mana source. And the opponent is going to grief us. So this is the vulnerability of running the creature or running MDFCs, is because the opponent can deny us black sources right here, which seems like a pretty clear pathway to like taking over this game. You know, sure, we can like grief them, but now we don't have any black mana to cast anything. But then they do the unthinkable and they play an Urborg after that. So and allows us to get completely out of it with the Dark Ritual top deck. So now all of a sudden we have like a really explosive turn, and this is me thinking like, all right, do I Dark Ritual out a Liliana and just start going for it? Could even like pitch cast Grief, or do we Dark Ritual Nethergoyf Bowmasters? So trying to think, but yeah, like if the opponent had any land besides an Urborg, they should have played that, because now it's all systems go. Decide just to lead with the pitch cast Grief. Alright, so we see Grief, Shieldred, and One Ring. I'm going to take the Shieldred because that's just real nasty in conjunction with the One Ring, and it's a pitch card for Grief. So we'll let Grief die, and we're going to just Dark Ritual Nethergoyf Bowmasters. And so just what a huge reversal right there. From losing our soul black source to like having this explosive turn was... I thought the game was like almost over, and then, you know, what a roller coaster right there. They played Urborg, we drew Dark Ritual, and then the opponent turns out they can top deck with the best of them as well. So they draw a Chrome Mox, which allows them to immediately slam a One Ring. So they are taking damage off Ancient Tomb, but Urborg's going to protect them eventually. So as the opponent draws, and we Bowmaster. If you enjoy seeing these black mid-range battles, please Stabbing Pain the like button. Alright, so we draw Persist. So we have like, you know, do we save up our mana till we can persist something, or do we try and make them hit the brakes? And so I decide in this instance, you know, the ring's going to draw them so many cards that I want to deny, like, reduce their options. I don't want to let them like slam like a Shieldred and then like gain a bunch of life. You know, it could get ugly pretty fast. So the opponent's just drawing right into the Bowmasters. And the thing is, they have like a lot of ways to recoup life and stuff, and they might even have like damnation and stuff. All right, so there's a Wary Zone Guard. We have no answer for it, so they're gonna get the Ancient Tomb back. And I've been seeing a ton of Wary Zone Guard lately. It seems to sort of be the Strip Mine lock of choice. Like, there's still a lot of Renin 6, but I'm not seeing as much Icetill as I am Wary Zone Guard. I think the double pip versus single pip is like a huge consideration. So gonna crash in for a bunch of damage. The opponent falls to 3, and they're definitely not out of this yet. So this is a decision point right here. Do we kill the Deathrite Shaman or send it all upstairs? I decided to put it all upstairs because that forces their hand with Deathrite. Like, they have to use the life gain mode now to survive what we're doing. And it just puts them in like a real dangerous situation. I'm not certain that's correct, but that was my rationale. All right, opponent's on 5 mana versus our 0, and then they play a Barrowgoyf. I'm like, oh my gosh, that sucks so much. It's a Death Touch lifelinker. Means we can't even like crash in and try and, you know. So they are taking 3 ring damage on their upkeep, but they can Deathrite Shaman gain life in response and stabilize at 1, and then, you know, crash with Barrowgoyf and gain some life. So I'm really trying to figure out, like, what should I attack here? Should I just like pass? And anyway, I decide ultimately just to pass. And then, you know, this has just been a roller coaster of a game, like back and forth like crazy. And then they have the Fatal Push for Bowmasters, and so now they can draw freely. And then, to my shock, this is me looking after the match because I was trying to figure out what the heck happened. I think they must have just clicked through the priority and blasted right past using Deathrite and just lost. So that one felt like a gift. You know, you take what you can get. Still a fascinating game nonetheless. All right, so what do we do with this? This Chrome Mox really opens things up. So now we can just hold up Bowmasters. Considering there's a blue fetch across the battlefield, might be, you know, it might be able to snag like a Brainstorm or a Ponder or something. Now, what do we tuck under it? Because if we, you know, tuck Boggart Trawler, then all of a sudden we're less, you know, fewer land drops. Decide just to tuck Icetill Elemental. Like, it's not the worst card to tuck because it's sometimes hard to muster enough green sources, especially like when you're getting strip mined and stuff. So I don't mind tucking it there because we can always find a new one with Overlord, for example. You know, so there's ways to keep going. You keep looking for it. So I'm gonna impend an Overlord. I guess I thought maybe, I don't know why I didn't hold up Bowmasters. I guess I just wanted to get Overlord down. So alright, so we have a new Icetill in the graveyard, which we can persist into play. No strip mines as of yet, so I guess that's one upside of not holding up Bowmasters. You can set up, you know, Icetill reanimation. So alright, so there's the blue-green Surveil. It's most likely like a show and tell variant, and there's another Surveil land right there. So what we want to find are strip mines. Like, we want to reduce their mana and like just choke them out. I'm going to persist Icetill right now, really hoping this doesn't get spell pierced. Opponent has something to pass priority with. Alright, so hoping to mill a strip mine at this point because then we can really get rolling. Alright, so we miss, so I'm going to crack the fetch before playing another land out of my graveyard just to try and mill another strip mine, or to mill a strip mine. So, all right, so I miss again. I'm going to just play from the graveyard, and this is where having like a low fetchable land count can come back to bite you. So, especially, you know, if you happen to mill a couple, you know, overgrown tombs and swamps, then you could be in big trouble. Alright, so we didn't find the strip mine. There's Chrome Mox. Don't love this. Let's see what they tuck under it. That'll like reveal what's going on. Alright, so they tuck an... was that an omniscience? I don't know if it's different art. Anyway, tuck a blue spell under it. We're going to crack the fetch. And we have 3 fetchable targets remaining. Going to shock that in because I want to get Bowmasters going just to get the clock going and possibly punish any card draw they might be playing. Alright, so the opponent appears to still need to like assemble some pieces of their combo. Thoughtseize is amazing right there. It's either going to like draw out a counter spell or like force some kind of action right there. So, you know, without, you know, barring like a strip mine, Thoughtseize is probably honestly better than strip mine. So, in this matchup, so we're going to Thoughtseize them before anything else and see what happens. Okay, so the opponent is going to brainstorm and hide some cards from our Thoughtseize, but that feeds right into the Bowmasters. So, and this is pre-combat also, so we're going to get a massive orc army to attack in with. So, but the opponent was able to stash their most important stuff just now, so we have to keep that in mind and sort of try and deduce like what they could have stashed on top of their deck. Alright, so they have Waterlike Teachings, attracts a stock up Demonic Tutor, and thinking about it, it seems like the clear thing to take is Atraxa, because they still need Show and Tell plus Payoff, you know, which they could have as the top 2 cards, but we could force them to like spin their wheels with all their card draw and tutors while we like just hammer them with like our attackers and stuff. So still searching for a strip mine, but we're running out of land drops, and there's our last fetchable land right there. I'm gonna put that into play tap. See if we can now finally find a strip mine. Didn't find it, but the nice thing about this deck is that, you know, between Icetill self mills and Overlord like triggers, you fill your graveyard reasonably well and can dig up those strip mines, you know. So, all right, another chance to find it though. I think we're out of land drops at this point. All right, put another Nethergoyf in the graveyard. Thoughtseize, going to put that on top, you know, just in case, you know, either the opponent kills us next turn or we're going to just hammer them with like a million attackers. Unless this is like a show and tell deck that runs like Damnation or something like that. We got some massive attackers ready to fight them, so yeah, and them spending this much on... So this is the crazy thing about show and tell, is that they could still win from this position. Like, if they have show and tell and they draw, you know, off stock up Ancient Tomb Omniscience, that's like a win right there, you know. So it's a very popular and very dangerous deck for that reason. So now it wasn't a Ancient Tomb, and yeah, that they'd seen enough. So we're on to the next game. Always happy to beat up some show and tell decks. All right, so what can we do? We have Chrome Mox and we have Grief. So I love keeping Overlord, but it seems worth it to pitch cast Grief, possibly scam them right here. So going to just Grief them before Chrome Moxing, before doing anything. Okay, so we have like a Blink deck with Quantum. I'll go ahead and link a Quantum Riddler deck on my own right now. So we could see they're hoping to like Ephemerate that, or Blink Psychic Frog. Sorry, Blink Solitude or Atraxa. So they have some like cool stuff going on. So it seems clear, like we want to scam them with Grief. Seems clear to get rid of Solitude right now. And the opponent didn't do it in response. I guess they were like really hoping to not have to like spend all those cards. But they are going to get massively punished right now. And that's always a tough call. Like, I guess against the mid-range decks, you want to Solitude the Grief. And against like Spy Belcher, it doesn't really matter because they can just sacrifice it in response, you know. So it's a tough call. So I don't envy their choice right there. But we turned out to be the mid-range kind of deck, and so we're bringing Grief back. And yeah, that's enough for them. They're in big trouble right there. So on to the next game. And that's why you play scam. Sometimes you pick up free wins by just, you know, scamming Grief into play, sometimes that's enough. Alright, sometimes, you know, what kind of monsters play Grief, you know, honestly. Alright, so we're getting Griefed right now. Curious to see what they take from us, and if they end up scamming it. So, this is another chance for them. Yep, they take our Black Source, so, when, you know, it's not without downside running MDFCs. Alright, so, they're going to scam the Grief into play and get another card out of our hand. Alright, and they take Dark Ritual. Alright, so our hand has been thoroughly dismantled. Alright, we draw another Strip Mine. So we don't really have use for the colorless mana except for casting a Liliana down the line, which we don't even have 2 black sources for. So it seems pretty clear just to Strip Mine them here and just wait till we draw a black source. Or a Chrome Mox or something. Now, you know, we have to see, you know, so how many MDFC lands they're playing, because that'll tell us, you know, whether they're a scam deck or a spy belcher. And the fact that they're just running out more and more MDFCs makes me think that they're a spy belcher deck. So we did draw a black source, and I'm just trying to think here what to tuck under it, like, and you know what to play, and decide. You know, Liliana is sort of far away at this point that she's probably the best card to tuck underneath it. She is an answer to Grief, you know, with her minus, but decide to, and because I'm anticipating them being a combo deck rather than mid-range, I'm going to Thoughtseize here. And it turns out, it looks like we're right. The fact that they're playing Sacrifice, going to take Sacrifice so they can't hit like a Balustrade Spy and, you know, spike a Char Belcher or something like that. So, going to Strip Mine their land away. Now, Grief's going to keep chewing us up, but the other thing is that sure, we left a Thoughtseize behind in their hand, but our hand is essentially Thoughtseize proof. If they take Reanimate, we just play Nethergoyf. If they take Nethergoyf, we just reanimate it. You know, so that was the other thing. We take, you know, we hurt their mana production by taking Sacrifice, and we've cultivated sort of an immune to Thoughtseize hand. And so the opponent is going to fire it off, and it's just basically like 2 damage burn spell to themselves. So checking the graveyards real quick because we did draw a Reanimate, so like, you know, we could reanimate something, but it seems way better just to slam Nethergoyf. Alright. So we'll see what the opponent does. So they're going to try and race this. Our creature is higher power, though. Alright, so there's the Dark Ritual. So we could put a Boggart Trawler into play. Puts us down to 6, which gets us dead to 2 Grief attacks. But then, yeah, I don't. It's a little risky to do that. So I decided just to hold off. Now, we are sort of punished by that, though, because the opponent can then reanimate it. And that was something I hadn't thought about. So this is devastating because they're going to shrink another Nethergoyf down to 0 power right here by eating up our graveyard. So that was just like an insanely clutch play by them. Yeah, at the cost of a lot of life. You know, they are down to 4. So we're going to fall to 6 right here, and it's getting ugly. And, you know, neither player has lands in play. Like, this is timeless, baby. All right, so going to Dark Ritual. And Bowmasters is the dream draw right there. That just clears out the Boggart Trawler, and Dark Ritual puts another card type in the graveyard. And we could, you know, it's pretty senseless to reanimate. It's just risky to reanimate it right here, even though we'd have a lot of blockers. Just going to crash in and make sure we don't die to something stupid. So, and yeah, that's enough to beat Spy Belcher. On to the next game. Icetill, Thoughtseize, Grief. It's not a scam hand, but it seems pretty strong. The question is what to do. Like, we could, like, pitch cast Grief, you know. It seems best, like, just to lead with just Thoughtseize and just collect some more information. See where that takes us. I am going to try and lock up a green source to try and push ourselves towards Icetill. Now, this is one of the toughest Thoughtseize, you know, decisions I've had in a long, long time. So this is some sort of, like, Necro, you know, Balustrade Spy deck. You know, they're probably running Sorin to cheat at that out, another Vampire. But anyway, let me know in the comments, like, what would you take right here? Their hand is absolutely stacked. Like, I'm just at a loss. Like, they have multiple fast manas. They have Chrome Mox. You know, we could take Chrome Mox and then hope they, you know, are choked on black mana for a while. That might have been better. You know, but then, like, as soon as they get, like, a black MDC, then Necropotence comes down, you know. And so, Anyway, so now I'm like, well, shoot, I think I have to grief also. Like, their hand is just way too strong. So I take Necro, and maybe this was the mistake right here. Maybe I should have just held on to it because I was a little worried about them just slamming like a grief turn 1, and then we have to deal with that after having our hand stripped, you know. So maybe, you know, the thing is I left 2 fast mana spells still. So anyway, like I said, that was a cracked hand from the opponent. I had a really hard time figuring out what to do. So I don't think I'd made the correct choice there. So here's the tough thing. So we can Chrome Mox and Icetill, and we can play the Strip Mine, which then puts us 1 land drop away from Icetill. But the question is it important to pop their land right now to stop something crazy from happening? You know, like a Goblin Charbelcher, for example. So, all right, so there's the Chrome Mox, probably trying to lock up a black source right here. And what are they going to tuck under it? All right, so they tuck Sacrifice. And so the magic number for this deck is 4, you know, because that's Balustrade Spy, that's Goblin Charbelcher. And so that, I guess, is the argument for strip mining. So we did not strip mine, and they got the Charbelcher in play. And worse than that, they have land number 3 for the activation. So we're sort of priced in to activating it, strip mine now. And, you know, that was just really tough. Like, oh, maybe I should have hunted the fast mana spells in the initial discards. Like I said, I feel like there might have been a path to victory here with our initial discards. Like, I think I failed on that. So we're just hoping that they miss a land, we can get Icetill out, strip mine them to oblivion, and maybe come back and win this. But as soon as they hit 3 mana, we're just insta-dead. So, and they happen to find an untapped MDFC, and so we get Charbelchered, and that is it. So moving on to the next game. Alright, this hand is... it's okay. Like, we have Dark Ritual, but we don't have like Dark Ritual Thoughtseize Bowmasters, or like Impend Overlord Reanimate something. So I decided just to like just hold up Bowmasters the old-fashioned way. Just Chrome Mox something out and hold up 2 mana. Alright, opponent passes with the blue fetch. Now this is possibly running into Stifle right here, so you got to be like careful. Going to shock that in and play a Bowmasters. Alright, I was wondering if the opponent's going to brainstorm in response. So now we have Bowmasters in play. And honestly feeling like pretty dang good. Like, alright, Bowmasters, we can play a strip mine, but can't use it because the opponent has a fetch, but we can hold them like hostage with it. And as good as this feels, it's actually not that great a position because this is exactly what can happen. Despite us having a strip mine, this opponent could simply just not crack their fetch until the combo turn, and then play a bunch of extra mana sources. So land drop plus Chrome Mox plus the original, fetch crack means here comes show and tell, and we have absolutely nothing for this. So we can stick a land into play. There's the Omniscience, and I'm hoping they have to fire off some like card draw to get there, but nope, it's just an Atraxa, which is going to grab a bunch of stuff, and I see a Demonic Tutor, I mean, that's enough for me. So that was just a really tough one right there, and it just goes to show how strong these show and tell decks are. So on to the next game. Going first, got some strip mines, got some Chrome Moxes. Going to so it sucks, we have to tuck a black card here if we hope to cast anything. Decided to cast to tuck Nethergoyf because we could find a new one with Overlord, and I really want to set up like a reanimate right here. Alright, Bowmaster is just going to put that in hand. And so now we have, like the ticking threat of Overlord. We have our black mana set. There's another Overlord. So what to do? So I decide here, like I want to, like we were pretty far ahead at this point. So I was about to strip mine. I'm like, wait a second, like they could brainstorm in response, and then we don't get to get them with Bowmaster. So I'm gonna play the land, then strip mine in case they try and fire off some instant card draw. Then we can really get them. However, the opponent came prepared to fight. They're gonna stifle our strip mine, and I decide, given that they're playing counters, I'm just going to sneak the Bowmasters under, you know, mana drain or who knows what else they have. So, alright, the opponent finds their own strip mine, and they're going to strip mine the strip mine, which makes sense. Alright. So we're getting a little bit Overlord flooded, but we're low on mana source. I'm just going to attack in. Still feeling pretty good, because like the opponent, you know, hasn't really committed anything to the board. Alright, they're going to cycle Lorien Revealed. So they're going to find some more mana sources. The question is whether they can do anything about what we have. And there's another strip mine. That's been the name of the game right now. So the question is, so I really do not want to fire off an impended Overlord, because if they mana drain that, that is going to be catastrophic. So decide to just strip mine their land here and just be patient. Alright, so the opponent is able to find another replacement, Lorien Revealed. So just been strip mining like crazy, but the opponent just has not been able to muster anything. Like, it's been taking everything they've had just to keep land drops flowing, you know. So, but once again, waiting till like a more opportune moment to get an Overlord into play. All right, so there's a Tamiyo. All right, thankfully we drew a mana source. We do run like a low land count in this deck. So, and we know the opponent has a lot of sneaky stuff like stifles, so we gotta be careful. I'm gonna just crash in here, and you know, the most dangerous block is blocking the token, because then we can like Bowmasters, ding Tamiyo, and you know. Anyway, they did decide just to block in that manner. I'm going to impend the Overlord and see what the opponent has. And they have Force Spike. Alright, so they have a bunch of like 1 mana spells to mess with people, but now enough time has passed that Overlord's online, so they've seen enough. On to the next one. Alright, this hand is reasonably good. I'm going to fire off a Thoughtseize. At least it seemed good for a second, but you know, Thoughtseize is never what you want to do against a burn deck. But they, you know, now that burn has Chain Lightning, it's gotten definitely a power level upgrade. So I'm going to take Lightning Bolt as like their instant speed interaction, but they still have like a pretty strong hand. And we did make it more difficult for them, because if they want to fire like off like a reduced cost light up this stage, they're going to have to hold on to their Chain Lightning for a bit. But we just drew like the best possible draw right there. That is incredible. So Dark Ritual plus our land drop means we have access to 4 mana. So what we can do is impend the Overlord, which, you know, we could see what it possibly offers us. But the important thing that it's doing is juicing up our Nethergoyfs in hand. So I was about to grab the Liliana, I'm like, wait a second, like, let's hold on here. How big are the Nethergoyfs if I leave it in the graveyard? And it turns out that they are 6/7s. If you have a Gen Alpha friend, you know exactly what they're going to say. And we're going to just keep that in there so that our Nethergoyfs don't die to double bolt or anything like that. And we're going to, yeah, just slam 12 power on turn 2 and just say go to the burn deck, you know. And, you know, we deal a ton of damage to ourselves, you know, but like with an explosive start like that, like, you know, what are they supposed to do about it? So they're going to fight the good fight. Chain Lightning in to light up the stage, reanimate, but you know, the opponent is on a 1-turn clock at this point. Yeah, that they'd seen enough. So on to the next game. That was a pretty cool win against Burn. Alright, so we are going to, what are we going to do? There's a lot of options. There's, you know, Thoughtseize, there's Grief. You can sort of scam it off of Persist, you know. It's like this deck is insanely decision dense in the first turn. There's like a whole lot you could do, because we could have scammed it with Persist, you know, and Chrome Mox, but that would have eaten up our whole hand. So Thoughtseize against a combo deck always feels amazing. So trying to figure out what to do. Now the thing is, I think they run Reanimates, you know, so putting Balustrade Spy in the graveyard is not like super safe, but at least lets them not Sorin it into play. So going to just Chrome Mox away Persist and play Nethergoyf, just to get a clock going. So it's already a 2/3 on turn 1, and we can possibly grief them down the road, maybe either hard cast or pitch cast. Alright, so the opponent is going to Thoughtseize us, so there goes Grief. But they take some damage in the process and grow Nethergoyf for good measure. So I was about to attack them, like, wait a second, like, I'm not playing anything right now. Well, I guess I could Persist the Grief into play. But what we can do is play the land and surveil possibly something into the graveyard to juice up Nethergoyf, you know. So going to take the surveil land and see if we can enhance it. And Overlord is pretty good. Going to just stick it in the graveyard because now we can, you know, it juices up Nethergoyf and we can also persist it into play. But it seems like against combo, it's honestly stronger just to persist a grief. Like, Overlord's like the way splashier value play, but like taking Sorin out of their hand means that they're gonna need a lot of pieces to go off. Meanwhile, we're just gonna be like, clocking them right here. So now there is the argument of persisting Overlord and putting grief into hand to pitch cast the following turn, you know, but it seemed a little safer this way. And yeah, the opponent's seen enough at this point. Well, that was awesome. I always have an amazing time playing scam decks, and there's like a ton of different variants of scam that I've been able to enjoy, and this is a new one that I've been trying. I think there's some merit to it. Icetill is tough to cast in this deck. That's like for sure. You are definitely like warping the mana base to make it work, but I think it does help like pack a punch, and like when the game stretches to the late game, it has you like a really strong engine. Plus, there's a ton of ways this deck can turn one the Icetill Explorer. You know, Dark Ritual, impend the Overlord, mill an Icetill, reanimate, boom, then you're off to the races, you know. So there's other ways you can turn one Dark Ritual, or Thoughtseize yourself, then reanimate it. Like there's a lot of ways you can execute that, and then not to mention you still have like the strong game plan of like getting a grief into play, or like massive Nethergoyfs, which you saw multiple times. As far as some other considerations, like, you know, you should always think about Deathrite Shaman in these decks. We're not really like ramping up to something, but it's like a strong enough value card, like it can do some work and accelerate into Icetill, you know, so you can like lean more mid-range, more like the Rock kind of style deck, you know, if you want to do that. I was thinking I needed more discard outlets to like get rid of Icetill Explorer or set up reanimates like when it wasn't good. So like Collective Brutality was something I had my eye on, or possibly more copies of Liliana the Veil. But I don't think you really need to go that route. Like it just sort of works the way it is. Ancient Tomb is a consideration. We're already running so many colorless lands. I don't think you can jam more, especially when like there's only certain cards that can benefit from it, like maybe hard casting Grief or Icetill. Like it just doesn't seem like getting enough off the Ancient Tomb. And then there's Urborg, which can like turn your fetch lands into like, usable mana in like the extreme late game, but I don't think we really need it because this deck's pretty lean. But yeah, that's the deck. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to see even more nonsense, please consider subscribing. And if you're already subscribed, thank you for your support. Your engagement with the channel helps me know what the people want. Thank you.